Good afternoon, ladies and gents. Welcome to the Switch Hustle with Mags Boland Murphy and Boffin Consultancy. Today, we are going to chew the fat, all things construction and business, with two gents, two lovely men that I know. Keith McGrory from McGrory Homes in Waterford, and Paddy Carroll from Carroll Estimating in Carlow. Gents, thanks for joining me. And I'm looking forward to this because I love this sector. I love construction. I love machinery. And I guess that goes back to the house I grew up in. So there's a lot of activity happening in it. It's fair to say there's an awful lot to speak about today, but we'll start just, if you guys would introduce yourselves. Keith, I know you from work we've done in Waterford, and you actually have two businesses. So can you give a little bit of a background to our listeners about both McGrory Homes and Hightower painting product?
How you doing, Margaret? And thanks for having me here on your podcast. And I'm looking forward to the good discussion. Yeah, my background is obviously I'm a managing director of McGrory Homes here in Waterford City. And a few years ago, actually, while I was completing a refurbishment project in Waterford City, I basically had a light bulb moment for a product when I was climbing up and down a ladder, and I was up at 3 meters doing cornices, molds, 10 o'clock at night, paint, dust, everything in your eyes, thinking there has to be a better way of doing this. So I suppose that's where I invented the Hightower paint bucket system. And since that, 4 or 5 years ago, it's been a great journey, and it's a great story in the sense of where we've come with it, and I'm really enjoying it. So after the light bulb moment, I was kind of studying at the time in WIT in Waterford City, and I presented the product during a module, and I suppose everybody's seen me demonstrating it. I just made up a prototype, and I was sent then to the intellectual property office in the actual college, and from there just started to take legs. When I started to show people and talk to them, we worked on patents, and it took a couple of years getting patent pending and stuff like that. And then we ended up getting, just there during COVID, we got a full 20-year utility patent in Europe and a full 20-year utility patent in the US. So from that, we've commercialized the product in Ireland over 2 years ago, and we've commercialized it in the UK. We are commercializing it now in the US now in January. So I suppose, yeah, building is my core business. My father was a builder. We've been, a bit like, as I always say, like farming in Ireland. It's in the blood. So I live and breathe that noise of just the building site and the mixers and noise and fighting. And I suppose I always tell people, it's like I played a bit of soccer, and I suppose people would always say, "Jeekers, I would play for Liverpool or Man United for free." But I'm the type that going on building sites for me is like that. That I just want to get on building sites, and that's why I suppose it's natural for me talking about it and trying to grow McGrory Homes. And yeah, look, as I says, McGrory Homes is my core business, and I'm a qualified quantity surveyor. I'm registered with the CRA Ireland, and
it's 14 hours.
I suppose McGrory Homes, we're specialising in residential construction, refurbishment. We do a small bit of development ourselves. We're kind of in the middle market where we try and pick nice, exclusive sites and areas, and maybe knock down a house and build 2 to 3 houses. And then the same thing, we have a couple of architects who we do work for year to year. And I suppose the product, yeah, I don't like to kind of diversify too much, but the product does lend itself to the construction as well, because it's a DIY, it's a trade product. So I really understand the process of painting and decorating, and the hassles and the labor intensive which the paint and decorating trade faces. And I suppose the two of them work together. And to be quite honest, construction's quite a demanding trade, a demanding business. There's a lot of risk on the builder, which we're involved in. There's a lot of money involved and numbers, and it's growing astronomical at the moment. Now the standard house, detached house, is probably £500,000, as opposed to maybe 10, 15 years ago. People were spending, doing a self build, and they were budgeting 250,000, 300,000. So on saying that, I find that my other business really, really, really tunes me out. And when I go up and work on that, but I just do an odd day in that, and it's really, really going through that process has actually helped my building process. So in a way, I suppose, which I worked with yourself there during the year with, one of the business, and then we end up working on both. And it's just like, it's one of those ones that if it's processed, like, look, most businesses are processed in the same lines, that only they're maybe selling a different product, and we're trying to develop it that way,
I like the one thing, Keith, I have to say is the Hightower products, and you're going to laugh at this. I think we mentioned this already. I immediately thought of Police Academy when I heard the name of it. So it'll work really well in the States. But I also like the diversification element of it, because we work with an awful lot of clients, particularly in this sector and other sectors, to help them diversify their business, because it keeps you interested, but it keeps you relevant as well. And, Hightower, I hate painting personally, but we had to do it as kids. And that's a solution to a problem for not just builders, but also for the private individual. Keith, thanks for sharing that with us. Now, Mr. Patrick Carroll, tell us a little bit about Carroll Estimating.
Hi, Mags. Thanks very much for the introduction, and thanks for giving us the opportunity to come on today. Yeah, so we're a building contractor and developer, quantity surveyor and estimating firm. We started up about 3 years ago. I seen a gap in the market for QSs and estimators. We do it a little bit different here. We don't just put a rate against a quantity and off you go, or pull it from a certain part of the sky and off it goes. We go back to first principles, so it's time, labor, and material. And the best thing about it, and our contractor said to us, that is, we can actually tell them to the last nail how much this job is going to cost. And then we can easily put on your profit margins, your prelims, and whatever other margins or overheads you want to put onto the job. So look, it gives the contractor or the developer a bit of comfort of mind to say, look, this is our price, this is what we're going to make off the job, hopefully, unless things go a bit mad, which they have over the last couple of months with the fluctuation in materials. Not only that, regarding price and stuff, we actually measure on behalf of small contractors doing an extension to medium size to large, and we actually work for some of the top 5 tier 1 contractors in the country. We also work for contractors in the UK. We've literally done a measure for a factory in China in the last couple of months. So it's been a busy 3 years. We started off with a 40 grand extension to pricing jobs 25 to 30 million now at the moment. So it's been a busy period. What we're trying to do is, and how we help our contractors is, they're all busy. Everyone is busy at the moment, and tenders are flying in the door. So what we do is we take control of the tender on behalf of the contractor. And what that means is that we will actually go out to the market for them. And that's using their own supply chain. So we will actually go to their own supply chain, whether that's a steel contractor, a cladding contractor, a groundworks contractor. We'll actually go out and get the prices for them. Now, if they don't get prices, we would have a pool of subcontractors ourselves or contractors ourselves that we will actually go get prices for them. We will also go to suppliers, to all your merchants. So we keep an eye on all material. So we have to watch that sheet of mess that costed whatever in January. We have to watch how much it's costing at today's value. We also have to consider how much is that sheet of mess going to cost next February. So at the moment, it's a bit up in the air, but we try to keep it as best as we can. We also have architects that get in contact with us direct to see, do we know any builders that would like to price stuff? So we have a pool of we work for about 30 to 40 contractors around the country and in the UK. So we're very busy, as you can imagine. All we're here to do is we're here to save the contractor time, because we know what the time is involved, and tenders are getting bigger and paperwork is huge at the moment. So we're just trying to save the builder. We give them a flat fee to do all the works for them, and we hope we can win them that job. And then if they win that job and they want to take Carroll Estimating on to do the valuation and variations, we will do that. And technology has come a big part of our company here. We've invested heavily. So we do 3D models. So we get the BIM model. We can actually measure. We're after just doing a pilot run with Autodesk. So we use Autodesk Takeoff. So we can measure certain elements, huge measurements, formwork and RC or precast. We can do it in seconds, let alone, in milliseconds. We can measure and price stuff. So we've also our supply chains. We can see who's competitive and who's not competitive in our tenders. So typically on a multi-million euro job, we will go to 3 or 4 or 5 subcontractors regarding steel, and we can break down our costs to see who's the most competitive or who's the better contractor to go with. So we also use other software in the country. We use a company called Site Passport. They're up there in Greystones, I think they are, up in Dublin. So they're a supply chain management system where we can actually see, who's in farm work or who's looking for jobs or whatever. So that's Carroll Estimating.
That's you. And Paddy, I know that, I know you from when you started the business, and I love to see businesses growing. I love to see success happening. I love to see progress happening. But I think the common thing between you and Keith there now is that you both have a mindset where you're looking at things differently to how they were traditionally done, and you're focused on upping the ante, both of you. And that's why you're both here today, because I think, like Paddy, one of the most, and I mean this, one of the most impressive things about what you guys do is how you use technology. I love that. I always say to clients, technology can be your friend, right? I don't like technology. I hate the thoughts of it, but I use it, and I will learn about it, and I will, my team will learn about it and embrace it if it helps me and it helps our clients. And I think that's what you guys are doing in there as well. And you as well, Keith, like with the Hightower products, that's a simple mechanism, but you're using technology applications to make it happen. It's solving a problem. And I'm all about solving problems. And I think, especially in the construction sector, and it's one I really, really love and I'm passionate about, because I suppose I grew up around it, but also I worked in it. And I love to see people up in the ante in it. We have to progress, because if we don't, we stay where we are. And that's not going to sustain any business. Gents, what do you see? And I suppose, Paddy, this time we'll start with you. What do you see as the biggest challenges for the sector right now?
It's costs. There's no doubt about it, and that goes from materials to labour. We have a serious conundrum coming down the line with trades. We're just lacking trades at the moment, and unfortunately, people are not going to see those costs coming down, whether it's for a one-off house or for a commercial fit out or commercial or industrial. Those costs are just not going to come down for another while, unfortunately. We just need to get young people, men and women, into the trades if they want. The QS is, and another thing we're seeing a lot of women coming into the industry, which is good, and we'd like to see a lot more. To keep us lads in check. Like I said, and Keith will know this as a QS himself, like we went from, a scale rule to highlighters. That was the biggest thing for us, and we've gone from highlighters to digital measurement then, and now we're into, measurement now is so quick, and like we're able to do claims off that, where everybody wants it done. Like our tender times now at the moment are, on a big job, could be 4 weeks at max, so you can imagine a multi-million euro job, the amount of subcontractors. I'll just give you a breakdown. So a €5 million job, we could be sending now 50 packages, trade packages, multiply that by 5, that's 250 emails that have to go out. That's 250 calls. Multiply that by minutes, that's 250 emails that have to come back with prices if they're all going to price it. So it's just, the technology and the communication is so vital. And then you'll also have guys that, they're too busy. They might know the person, they mightn't want the pricing, but that's fine. You just move on to the next project. So everyone has to be on their toes. But we have it, when someone asks us to price something, we price it. We give a quotation, whether we get the job or not. I see a lot of people they don't price stuff, or they don't tell the person that they're not pricing. Do you get me? And people get frustrated if someone doesn't submit a price. All it is a quick call just to say, look, we're not interested in this job. We'll move on to the next one. And that goes for even people, and Keith will know this, from a private development or anything. The builder, if someone gives you drawings, quick call back. I'm either interested or I'm not interested.
Yeah, you're right.
Then you'll see where your interest is. And I from a client's point of view, I would always look for 3 or 4 prices. The only thing I will say about prices, people look at the bottom line all the time. Don't just look at the bottom line. Look at the writing in between the top of the letter and the bottom of the letter. because people will leave out stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not till you get to the site and on the first day of the job, that's when it all comes to. That's where it all comes out.
Yeah, and I think you hit on something there, right? That you have to look at the quality as well. Of what's in between. Recruitment, I'm going to talk to you guys about in a moment, because it's a challenge that we're seeing. We're seeing it from all the sectors we work with, but particularly from construction and hospitality. There's a massive challenge out there, but we'll come to that in a moment. Keith, what do you see as the big challenges in the sector at the minute from your perspective?
Yeah, I suppose just on Paddy's there, just a couple of last ones there in case I forget. I suppose the one Paddy was like what we work on is the most, what he was getting at was the most economical, advantageous tenders. Like that's paramount. And I'm sure Paddy, and just from all the work he does there and was explained earlier, all the different aspects, which is vital from, Paddy, people in Paddy's business there are so invaluable that's the things they're doing behind the scenes. It's unforeseen that if you're dealing with multi-million-pound jobs, it's not just the price. As I keep saying, I keep going back to this, this factory floor that we're building. Just keep visualizing the Ferrari factory floor that we're building. The factory is much bigger. That you're getting one car that's worth. There's no cars out there worth 5 million, 50 million, which Paddy's working on. So Paddy is the link for basically that factory, to make it work. And you know what? That's where the whole thing's broke down. I mean, at the end of the day, the whole communication and collaboration and construction, and I've looked at it and I've studied it, it's just piecemeal, and it's not going to correct unless what I've recognized, if we're doing, let's just say £1 million house and we're doing 10 of them, and I know you're going to get bored listening to this kind of car analogy, but right, we have a flying factory with 10 houses, £1 million each. I mean, would you see a BMW garage getting an independent person to do the work? Would they get subcontractors on to fit the engine? Would they get subcontractors on to finish the painting? So to be quite honest with you, I don't see it working unless I actually feel the future is big companies, and I can see it actually. I've got the evidence on the ground from small to medium that they're growing very quick. And what's going to happen is come back to the 1950s and 1940s, where you might remember, Paddy, and you might remember, Mags, that those old school boys in the 50s, they had all big workshops in the local town, right?
Yeah.
They basically had their own trucks, their own carpenters in house. They made their own blocks.
Had their own joinery companies.
Companies. So do you know what? It's actually come back to that now. I see it because the subcontracting model did not work because when there's a lot of defects there in the last downturn, basically now, and you see it in Donegal with the mica and the blocks, and to be quite honest with you, regulation only changes, which it has in the building construction in the last 10 or 20 years a lot after Priory Hall and the Stardust disasters. But I'm telling you, we are in for a serious change now after what's going to happen in Donegal. You're talking, it's a humanitarian crisis up there that, you're literally visualize Waterford City or Wexford County, every house being demolished. And that is no joke. So the regulations that I see is going to happen after this is, at the moment we're using BCAR and we're using Siri. You're talking now that there's going to be registered builders. There's 10 registered builders in Waterford that can build you a house. There's 10 registered builders in Donegal that can build you a house with the registration Siri. And if they make that mandatory, which they're planning to do, and I think they will because of this thing in Donegal. I mean, you're talking about, unfortunately, we're making a lot of people obsolete for good reasons and bad reasons. But I think, going back to saying there about the whole factory thing, we're going to see companies seeing that what's the word, the potential that they can go on, which insurance companies want, solicitors want, banks want. They basically, it's not about now how cheap you can build this house. It's about, can you certify this £1 million house? That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, well, like we see, Keith, and we see a lot of people, they ring up and they go, we're going to put in the foundations and we're going to put in the floor. All you have to do is build from the floor up. And in fairness to contractors, they just go, no.
Yeah.
I want control of that site. I don't know who's laid the blocks in the ground. I want to dig those foundations, and I want to put the last ridge on it. I want to put the paint on it, because I'm the person that's going to sign this off, and it's only right.
Yeah. Again, that's I keep coming back to. Would BMW just turn around and if you're ordering up $100,000 car and you say, do you know what? Is it okay if I send my uncle over there? They don't put on the wheels. He's got a wheel company. That's what's happening in our industry. I'm telling you, I've actually heard architects on the side saying, and I'll be honest with you, it's a bit of a thing out there. Like, builders are coming from a bad history, bad names, but and it is getting more professional. But unfortunately, I've heard architects going and actually saying to people, "Oh, sure, builder does nothing." Like, imagine that's like saying BMW do nothing; they just sell cars. You know?
And like that, guys, when you're talking about that, there's something that sticks out to me, and we're just coming to the end of a house build ourselves. But even from just being on sites myself over the years, is there's in a way what's happened with the Mika situation up in Donegal and Mayo as well. Like, it's extremely sad for the people that are on the receiving end of it. But maybe there'll be more regulation down to grassroots level in the industry, because I find myself from, we all know good people in trades, we all know less than good people in trades, and they just rock up, they say they'll do X, Y, and Z, and once they're gone off site, they're gone. There's no accountability, and I think that's a very dangerous situation. And I mean, we can't go backwards, we have to go forwards. And unfortunately, due to people having lack of standards and not looking at the smaller pieces or having a conscience in the Mika situation, the industry is going to suffer. But do you think it'll make it stronger, though, in terms of the quality going forward?
From my point of view, without doubt, and the builders that we deal with, even an architect might say we might do it this way, and the builder he'll say to him, no, I'm not going to stand over that detail, because it's this way or that way, or we've seen it before that the condensation will work here, or there's a coal bridge is going to form there. So everyone at the end of the day, with the B car, everyone is signing up. The builder is signing up, and the architect is signing up, and the engineer is signing up. So everyone, there's a trail now. So
yeah, there's a trail, there's a record.
And as I said to you before, one job leads on to the other. You're only as good as your last job. You do not want a bad name in this industry. No way. It's too small of a country. Too small. Yeah. We actually, and Keith will know this, and you know this, Mags, we are all interlinked.
Yeah.
Everyone knows someone.
We're all inbred.
We all know in this industry, especially the construction industry, we know someone through somewhere.
Yes, that is so true.
So you cannot get away with it. That day is gone. And look, if you were spending, whether it's an extension of 50 grand or it's a house of 300,000 or whatever it is, 500,000, that's your castle, and you want your castle to be to be good and built properly. That's it.
And you're paying for the privilege as
well. You're paying for it. You want a good service. The builder has put in a price or whatever it is. He's giving you a price to build that to the best of his ability and to the regulations.
You mentioned something there really interesting, Paddy, earlier on, and Keith, you kind of went back to it as well, is, people look, and this is something I always say to clients, that people will look at the price, but they will also, eventually, the smart ones will also look at the quality in between the price and the how are you piece, because you have to be able to justify your price. And people need to remember, both contractors and private individuals need to look at it. It should be about quality at the right price, as the old saying goes. I think that's hugely important, and it's something that we forget as individuals. Separate to being business people, sometimes we forget that, when we're making decisions. Just getting back to the recruitment challenge at the minute, it's an enormous challenge. I've heard it from all areas of the sector. I've heard it from other sectors as well. The apprenticeship piece is gone. Maybe it needs to come back. What do we do now to encourage, the generations coming up behind us all, that this is an attractive industry to get involved with and to work in? Keith, I'll start with you.
I suppose I normally just try and, shoot from what I can see on the ground and what I'm changing. And I'm going back kind of, as I said earlier, 40, 50 years and I've been saying this for the last 10 odd years, that what's happened is we've gone to a subcontracting system to produce products. And what happened was these people who were subcontracting weren't making a good living, to be quite honest. They were being used. Cash flows. They've been scrutinized. They've been lambasted. So what's needed, and I think is going to change, is firms now will grow and they will put people in proper contracts. So I'll employ a boy who, and I suppose what's happening too in Ireland is the people are getting much more professional. The husband and wife now are professionals, and even if the man's a carpenter, normally the dream is to go out on your own. But if they can find that they can get a salary down the road for €700 or €800, 50 grand a year, working every week, that's a dream. So I think we're the model which we're changing in-house ourselves. And I worked with yourself on this, Mags, and I changed it straight away when I talked to you about it, that I basically started work on my business at the start of the year, and it's been unreal. The visions I've had, the space I've had, they now really, really dream about growing it. And what I've done in turn is the guys below me, during COVID and all, they were coming back thinking, was it going to work? I took them straight in and says, you've got a pay rise. This is where we're going. I want you, and by me giving them a pay rise, I was giving them different tasks because I had a good thought process of how to change it around. So I think there's the reality is, why is there nobody doing it? And the reality is, I have brothers, 5 brothers, like Donegal is one of them counties, the west of Ireland, that everybody's in construction. They all travel to Dublin, they travel to London, they leave their wives and children at home. It's a bit like Wexford, very similar. They're all construction related. So I feel, as an industry, we need to make the builder who owns a company professional, which we're trying to do. But again, recognize those guys who are coming on the site. And I remember being taught in WIT by a guy called Kevin Ryan, who was an old lecturer. And he used to write on the board, they all saying health, safety, and welfare of the worker. And do you know what? I work with some big companies in this country, one of the biggest. And I'm telling you, they looked after the diggers better than human beings. And Paddy, I'm sure, has been out and about. And I'm sure he would agree with all that, I think if we want people, it's not even the money anymore. We talked about the money there for the tendering and all. It's not like the wealth in this country is unreal. We are one of the top countries now in Europe with technology, pharmaceutical. The riches in this country compared to the last downturn is unsurmountable, to be quite honest. And that's why we're standing up much stronger than we were before. That the average job now in the east coast of Ireland, the average couple are earning 200 grand. So, and that's doubled compared to 10, 15 years ago. So to me, I think we need to promote professional jobs. It's not a man comes on site, he's just fired around the place. At the end of the day, trades is professional. They're
absolutely. I agree with you 110%, Keith. I think that we need to put that stamp of professionalism on the sector. It is there anyway from those of us that know the sector, but it's to kind of increase awareness, I suppose, to people that are coming up through the ranks. They're coming out of school, and that they can actually, because let's face it, college is not for everybody. Yeah. Academia is not for everybody. You can do study at any stage in your life, but that we should look at construction and recognize other sectors as well as viable options to be professionally qualified and experienced and enjoy a good living out of it if you work hard, because I'm a firm believer, having spent time in it and grown up around it, that you really get back what you put in to that sector. And I see it. We've had some extremely proficient people on our site, and I have no hesitation. There's 3 or 4 of them in particular, and I will have no hesitation in recommending them. And it's not down to their cost, because there was nobody cheap. You don't want cheap. Because if you pay peanuts, you're going to get monkeys, as my dad used to say, and he wasn't wrong. And I think it's important that we have there's an obligation, I think, on you guys as leaders in the sector, myself working with companies like that, that we need to lead from the front and show them how to do the jobs the way they should be done. And I think as well, and you probably hear from me talking this, I feel strongly about it, that anyone that works in the sector that could do it better needs to step up and do it better. If they want men and women to come into the sector and be on the ground and ready to work of a Monday morning at 8 o'clock, they're going to have to give them a reason to do that. And it's not all money. It's definitely not all money.
No, like I find, Mags, it comes down to respect.
Absolutely.
Young people have, I'm only 39 myself, but if you're 18, 19 years of age coming out of school, or 17 years of age, you've so much choice now. You can go work in a call center for a bank. You can go work for Lidl. You can go work for Aldi, and they have got absolutely excellent opportunities. Excellent. So we're trying to grapple with those people, and we're trying to give them an incentive to come work in the industry. Now, whether that's giving them an extra few bob. Now, I know a guy or a girl is coming into a site and they're very green and don't know what's going on. But there's no point in giving them less money if they went in to work in wherever, in a bank or work in a supermarket or whatever. Why would you do that? When they can be nice and warm on a freezing cold morning than being out on a site. So we've got to give them incentives to come to the site, whether that's a bonus structure or something like that. I don't know. I also see, and as a QS, I never put my nose up to any trade. I tell you why, because I'm the guy that's ringing the ground worker and asking him, how many meters of pipes would you lay in a day? I asked the ceiling and stud partition guy, how much meters squared would you roughly do in a day? And he's the guy, because he's the guy that does it every day of the week, or the girl. He's the guy that actually tells you what you should be pricing it at. Yeah. He's the professional at what he does. The electrician, how many light bulbs, how many switches, how long does it take to put in a SWA cable, a big cable? I can't tell him because I'm not pulling the cable. He's the person that's telling me, So that's where respect comes along. That the tradesman now is your friend, because look, you're looking to get him there Monday morning.
Yeah, that's a
long way.
Yeah, that's a great point, Paddy. Like, it's funny. I said earlier I worked. Look, I'm not going to mention names, but I did work with one of the biggest companies in the country, and it's funny. We were sitting up the typical. We were on big jobs with the containers up high, looking down the workers, and I experienced it firsthand, right? That there was 3 of us running the job, maybe £50 million, big factory wraparound. There was a site meeting due on Friday. Every Friday, the powers that be are coming into this meeting, and next thing, they can't solve it. They run down to the steel fixer, whatnot. Yeah. They lick up to him. They're being mean to him all week, all year. Yeah. They suss out how it's going to be fixed. They land up in the office on Friday, and they're kingpins because they started themselves. So what you say is there, and I've been kind of from them experiences, that's where I'm involved in my own business. That, do you know what? To sum up what Paddy says there, and I keep talking about this manufacturing product that we're doing, which is houses or whatever buildings. The bottom line is the guys at the top have to recognize that the manufacturers of the product that they're actually presenting to the client is done by the carpenter, is done by the plumber, not me or Paddy. Like, we're involved in the process. But you know what? It's actually recognizing these things as making things much more clarity for everybody. And respect, which Paddy ended on, which is vital,
What else?
That goes a long way then, Keith, because when we go into site meetings, the pre-construction meeting, and we sit down and we have the builder, we have the client, we have the architect, and I'm actually saying to the because look, I'm representing the contractor, and I'm actually telling the person, we haven't even dug a foundation. I'm actually saying to them, start picking your colors now. Start picking where's your fridge going? Where's your cooker going? And some people look at me with 2 heads. Have you got your kitchen? Have you looked at your kitchen? And they're going, oh. And I just go, let the job routes run smoothly. And this at the end of the day, you're a building contractor. No sooner do you start, you want to finish.
Yeah.
And get out of there.
Yeah.
Because time is money.
What you're saying there, Paddy, and it's funny. There's another analogy I keep using, and I'll use it the day to day, right? I'm telling you, see if I'm doing £1 million job starting on Monday, right? The quicker I spend that £1 million, the better.
Yeah.
Simple as that. So at the end of the day, I have boys there, subcontractors, and I know the way subcontractors are now. They're all like, you know what? They're coming from historic as well, that they've been burnt. They've been burnt by developers. And one of my policies is they're paid before they go outside to get. And if I'm trying to get a boy hooked to work for me, I ring him and say, right, look, you priced that 20 grand. I am telling you now, I'm putting 10 grand deposit in your account. Because why shouldn't they get paid 50%? So there's another topic which we could talk for years on, is the money side of it. I mean, we're using what you know, we're using these boys as bankrolling them. And look, I'm not afraid to talk about it, but it's a pandemic in Ireland. And we all know the big companies who've been doing it for a long time. And to be honest, I think their days are numbered, like, you know.
They are definitely. I think so too, Keith. I think, you know, things need to be done a little bit differently going forward. With that in mind, right? And Paddy, you touched on it. The price of materials is definitely not going anywhere at the minute. It's not going down anytime soon, right? We're going to have to live with that for another while. Other than all the, you know, the recruitment and the material shortage and the supply shortage as well. What other things do you see happening for the sector going forward? Say, what if you had a crystal ball, what would you say you can see in it?
It's definitely more coordination. Like we use this terminology in construction now, BIM, building information modeling, but that's not just a model. It's actually a process. I actually did a master's degree in it myself there a couple of years ago, but it's all about everybody integrating together. And look, there's super tools out there at the moment that we can site. There's so many of them, Dropbox, you know, they're just these, we've so many of them that everyone's trying to collaborate together, and it just comes seamless. Like if you're on a job and there's 300 people on it, there's a management team of 50 to 60 people. That's a lot of organization, you know. And
Paddy, can I interrupt you there for 1 minute, right? Because just something that I think I want to ask you. Like, is it fair to say, and I kind of have my own answer on this, but from your perspective, lads, that it's not just the big outfits or the big contracting jobs that can use that. I think everyone from the bottom up, regardless of whether it's you know, if you're serious about what you're at, you know, you should be looking at this stuff. You know, if you've got a team of 2 or 3 to, you know, 100 people, it doesn't matter, because it is all
we have about 5 small to medium contractors that work on jobs from 100,000 up to 500,000, whatever. And what was happening is before we got involved with them, and they'd ring up and go, look, we want you to look after our project claims and variations for us. And the first thing we would say, I don't have to be on your site every day of the week. You know, I can actually use technology, right? Your phone can actually tell me what's happening on this job, okay? Whether it's a video, a text message, or an email or whatever. So what we use is, we say to them, we started a process with them all. Instead of the builder waiting until the roof is up, they're going for their first claim, which is 100 grand, okay? And you're hitting the client. Why don't you step it back and start doing your monthly claims? We started on day 1. I'm looking for my payment on day 30, right? Whether you've done 10 euros worth of work or you've done 100 grand's worth of work, start the process. And everyone, it goes seamless. And the client will always be looking for either extras, or the client will be looking on the costings of an extra wall, or they want a feature wall. So we have a process here. We use different technology where no sooner does someone ask us for a costing, we can bing it over to the architect, we can bing it over to the QS. The builders knows what's going on. And within a click of a button, they can either say, yes, go ahead. Please, can you give us an extra bit of a breakdown? Or we're not too sure on the cost. Can you give us a different option? So everybody is in tune of what's happening. So when we go to do our payment claim at the end of the month, we can ask the builder, well, did this happen? It didn't happen. Well, then we've got the claim for it. And it just goes like that. And we know what's paid to date, what's been done on site. And then when you come to final account, the final account you're hoping should be, we try to keep the final account as minimum as possible as the flow of the job goes ahead, right? And when you come to final account stage, there should be no ambiguity, sign off. And that's for the 5 contractors that we use. We've done, I'd say, 50 jobs plus, and so far, so good. Now, that's not to say nothing will happen in the future, but you know, talk to your builder. If there's a problem regarding money, the builder will get the QS to talk to you, and I'm not happy here with this price. Do you know what it is? We'll have a look at it and we'll do something about it. Don't leave it on the long finger.
It's about communication as well between
Right.
the client and the contractors, regardless of the size of job, whether it's commercial or private. Communication is so important, and having timelines in place, because as you said earlier on, Paddy, and you know that I'm a big believer in this, that time is money. And our build has run over, it's cost us money, and we're only it's a residential job. But I also know with a client of ours who's starting a big new build in January, that we're helping him out on some of it, and he has said to me, he said, Mags, if this job runs over, and I've given him the tools, that here's your timelines now. You have to keep a record. You have to make sure that your project manager is working in tandem with everybody. Because that is so important, Paddy.
Like the minute Keith's teleporter rocks onto that job, right? That teleporter, because he mightn't have that teleporter paid for, that might be on finance, that teleporter. That's costing him money. And the more longer it stays on that one site, it's not going between 2 or 3, it's costing him money. So he wants to get out of there. He wants to do a good job, quality, to the price he agreed, and get out of there and come back then if there's snag lists. I don't know what way he's processed. Hopefully he's going through the job snag free, all the better. But everyone wants to see it. The client gets to keep a bit of retention, maybe 2.5%, depending on the size of the job. He comes back in a year's time, does his final, because with the retention, they go through four semesters of the year or whatever to go through the weather and see what comes out, and then release the retention, and off you go again to the next job. And hopefully that the father, the grandfather, the daughter's daughter is going to build a house. So that's how it all works.
Keith, what next for McGrory Homes and Hightower Painting in 2022?
Yeah, I suppose one of my biggest changes was actually working with yourself and going through the local enterprise office and getting do a lot of consultation. And I suppose one of the big shifts I've done was, I am hands-on. I grew up, typical traditional household. My father was a builder. My brothers all just out in the middle of the muck, not earning. My father wasn't getting paid, and we definitely weren't getting paid, So, to be quite honest, one of my biggest shifts so far, and I'm really reaping the rewards, is I basically just starting to work on my business now, and I'm not afraid to tell people. I'm not afraid. I learned an analogy there actually during COVID. A boy told me, and I love it. It's basically, what was it he says? He says, I know what you have. And I go, what? He says, you have working class. Or no, he says, do you know what? He says, do you know what relaxation is? And I says, what? He goes, relaxation is working class guilt. And do you know what? I used to go on holidays. And once for 2 weeks, first week, I'd be like, yeah, I'm enjoying it. And then the second week, I'm thinking, I need to be back, with dirty clothes on, with boots on. I need to just feel like I'm doing something to be earning because I'm spending. So do you know what? I've gone the opposite now. The cleaner I am, and I know it's this Irish thing. I've actually walked down the road one morning, and I remember telling you this, Mags, that there was an auctioneer walked past me. He goes, Jesus, you're a clean builder. So to be quite honest, that's Ireland all over, and we need to change tax.
Well, can I tell you, Keith, if you were covered in muck, he'd probably complain about that as well.
No. See, what I'm really saying is we need to be. I think it's a bit like Braze Blossom wrote his book saying you're the limiting factor. At the end of the day, we need to start thinking. Get out of the boots and start being business people, and that's where I see it heading, especially in construction. It's not about me pretending that I'm like we used to go on site and everybody wants to know, are you a carpenter? Are you this? Do you know what? I run McGrory Homes and I'm building you a £1 million product. And do you know what? There's not many people you can get to do that. That's where my confidence is.
But you have standards as well, And Blaze's book, lads, to anyone that's listening out there, you are the limiting factor. He has 2 or 3 books written, and they're all well worth to read if you're a business person who wants to move forward. What next for Carroll Estimating in 2022, Paddy?
Well, we're always growing our business. We're always looking for new clients. We do background checks, a lot of background checks on new guys that come. Thank God we're going into the rail business at the moment. We've just got an English company have come to us there to do their estimates in Ireland. Actually, I think they're up from around your neck of the woods, Keith.
Right.
So they're doing they're big in the UK and they're starting to come over here. So we're doing a bit for them. So that's a new venture for us into railways.
Are they civils? Is it civils they're at?
All heavy civils, yeah. So we do good bit of heavy civils as well. Look, we do fit outs, construction, pharmaceuticals, anything you want estimated. Technology, suppose, Mags, we're always investing in technology, but we're actually gone to we're actually looking into one of the ITs there. We're getting a little bit of a software looked at the moment for ourselves,
Yes.
and we're going to see how
Like
that
to hear
goes.
that. Yeah.
It's been 3 or 4 years of obviously I've been talking to you about it of looking at this, and it's just been getting the time to do it. But January, February now next year, and we're going to make a bit of a push to see. I'll tell you what it is, because we're more or less of a freelance QS estimating firm. The software is just not little. It's not there. Like every software has their own little bells and whistles, but the ultimate pack is just not out there yet. So,
Well, Paddy, when that comes to fruition, we'll have you back on to speak about it.
It's not easy. We did actually we got an innovation grant there during the lockdown. We went and got a product idea, product initiative development or something, which is consultants, IT consultants come in and actually look at the product that you're thinking of building from scratch to see the cost of it to build it and what you have to generate before that even hits the shelves. So it's not for the faint-hearted.
No, it's not. But it is well worth it. The innovation voucher system, it makes things like that very accessible in terms of, turning your idea into a reality. It is pretty eye-watering when you see what's involved, but it is well worth it if you want to make progress in it.
And we're always marketing, Mags, www.
I know you are. You're a born salesman. That's a good thing. Gents, I'm going to ask you one last question, because I preach about getting the balance right? And, there's no such thing like what is work-life balance. It's a different thing for business owners, because I love what I do. And sometimes when I'm here on my off time, I'm still thinking about work, but to me, that's not a chore. And I think when I speak to most entrepreneurs, that they're the same, very similar mindset, but we do need to kind of have something in the balance at the same time. And balance is different for different people. So Keith, tell us, first of all, you have quite a colourful history in the football world. So tell us a little bit about that, just a little something that no one else knows.
Yeah, I suppose my first, as you can see and you can probably hear, maybe I'm passionate when I start talking and it's hard to get me to stop. So I'm just, that's one of my problems. But I suppose my first passion was soccer. And yeah, I lived and breathed it like most young boys. And I suppose at 15, I went over to England, the Ipswich, who were in the Premiership. And I suppose I kind of done as we call it, an apprenticeship. I was linked with them through an agency in Northern Ireland and played a few tournaments and whatnot. And obviously met good friends and some top internationals. But yeah, I kind of up to, I suppose, 19, 20, I played for different clubs. One club in London, came back, I actually played for Fun Harps before I went over to England, came back and played for Derry City small. But then I realised, look, I had so much energy, and I was like, look, soccer is one of those things. If you're not really up at a good level, you got to just change. And look, I was lucky that it was hard changing that and coming away from that kind of passion and dream. And I opened my first small business. I remember took a loan out of the credit union, and basically business then was just, I transformed my passion for soccer into business. And I'm glad I done that, because look, I suppose, like, which Paddy agree, and you need the energy, and you need if you have the energy and the get up and go.
Are you passing on the soccer genes now to your little lads?
Well, do you know what? I suppose, as somebody says there, I'm just I bring the young fellas there, I do a bit of coaching and they're training and whatnot. But yeah, I suppose, look, it's one of the ones where I'm facilitating them in it, but I'm not really trying to drive them. And that's just, I've seen friends who, we all see family who, if you're driving them, they want to do the opposite, to be quite honest, if you're driving them at something. So, yeah, I did actually end up putting a ball into all their cots when they were born. So you know, the ball has been in their mind ever since.
Oh, Keith, I love it. And
Yeah.
Paddy, what do you like from, what do you do to switch off?
Oh, well, Mags, where my allegiances are down in Limerick, my dad is from Limerick, so the GA is in my blood. So we have myself and my friend, actually, it's the first time that we went external this year. We actually coached the team in Wicklow to a championship only two weekends ago. So we're going out as a new management team, and thank God our first year we actually won something. So I know the GA is huge in our family. We have a small little club in Carroll called Palatine, and that's where I spend 50% of the time. But work-life balance is so important. You're the only one that loves your business.
Well, I genuinely do, Paddy. But I had to discover as well, and we'll finish on this. A number of years ago, I had to kind of take stock a little bit, because I would work 24/7. My mind, I suppose, like a lot of people, you have to control your mind as well, and that's a challenge in itself, given whatever day it is. But now I think there's definitely a lot more balance in life and in business. And
you're probably the same as me, Mags. Like my wife Neve is involved in the business, Neve is the financial controller, so I have to watch everything.
So
I'm the financial controller in our household.
Like the family, and Keith alone is the family is invested in this,
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
and I suppose, look, just something that, like, for me, just growing up dreaming. I remember, like, where I am now is where I dreamt when I was younger, to be quite honest, in the sense that, and it's not money, it's nothing. And what it is, I remember playing soccer on the pitch, and we were under 13s at school. And I remember one of my friend's fathers was standing there watching him. And I actually just said to myself, when I was growing up then and working, thinking, how did I get to do that? And I said to myself, I want to be in business that I can leave any hour I want to collect the children. So I leave the children in school every morning. I walk down. I collect them once or twice a week when I want. So to me, I'm doing things that money can't buy, and that's just it. And unfortunately, try and tell that to the wife when I'm sitting there doing business and there's no money coming in.
Well, Keith, something, guys. Keith, when I was growing up as well, I always knew where I wanted to go. I didn't quite know how I was going to get there, but I had that hunger in me as well, and like to have that balance. And to be able to do, it's not always all about money. Actually, money is the bottom line, absolutely is important, and you have to look at it and you have to be aware of it. But it's also about having the life you want. And I'll leave you on this. I suppose building the life that we want is about building the business around us, not putting ourselves around the business, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time. Anyone out there, including anyone who's listening to the replay, who wants to contact either Paddy or Keith, can do so. They can get Paddy Carroll on carrollestimating.ie, and they can contact Keith at hightowerpainting.com or McGrory Homes. Is it .com or .ie, Keith?
Yeah, .com. Yeah, .com.
Thank you, gents, for your time and for connecting. And ladies and gents, I leave you all, wish you all a good week ahead.